This is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. I hope you enjoyed this Critical Thought, your daily discussion on game design. We got a good critical thought for you today. Our topic is going to be the growth and rise of the survival genre. The genre itself may have been, in terms of becoming more popular, started around the time of Minecraft, but I'm sure there have been games before that. My little prop for today is this is the 20th anniversary, I guess, disc case slash art book for Rise of the Tomb Raider. You can see like kind of the different drawings and such of Lara Croft in here. And the reason why I want to show this is that even though the game isn't 100% a survival game, it kind of shows this growing popularity of these kinds of survival modes or extreme challenges. As I just said a few seconds ago, when it comes to the quote-unquote survival genre, in terms of popularity, it kind of started with Minecraft, with, of course, managing food and health, but since then we've seen a number of indie games growing the genre out, from the likes of Don't Starve, Subnautica, Rust, DayZ, and even games like Slime Rancher. I know there's like a few space-based games. We could even consider No Man's Sky to be part of this kind of growing survival focus. Oh, and let's not forget The Long Dark, because I think that's one of the bigger examples right there. But the question remains, why has this grown to become such a popular genre? And why is there such a variety, in a sense, in terms of these mechanics? Normally when we look at other genres, such as platformer or first-person shooter RPG, there is a basic foundation that ties all these games and all these genres together. Sorry, I got something right in my eye. There we go. But survival has become, or has a very wide berth. Again, you have everything from Don't Starve, which is about managing sanity, light, and hunger in this crazy world. Subnautica, which is basically surviving under the sea. Ark, Rust, you name it. And when it comes to talking about the survival genre, I think there's a few key takeaways that has led to its popularity. The first is that it's almost like the action fans roguelike. This isn't a turn-based game or something that's more heavily focused on abstraction. It's a manly game where you're out in the wilderness roughing it, you're fighting, you're surviving. It's just it's a different kind of challenge in a sense from what we see from a hardcore roguelike. When we look at something that's quote-unquote hardcore from the survival genre, we can certainly talk about a game like The Long Dark, which you're managing, hunger, thirst, disease, do you have any wounds, a splinter could kill you, stuff like that. Not to mention, of course, fighting against the animals and building or surviving in the cold. And this kind of direct play, or this directness, I think is a major part of this. When we talk about, again, games built on heavy forms of abstraction, a lot of what makes in terms of growth and challenge is again on the number side or under the surface. One enemy can be just as the same as another enemy, but it comes down to whatever their stats are. And you're still swinging a weapon or using a spell, but again, it's the numbers that determine its strength and potency. In a survival game, again, we're dealing with more action or more in-your-face elements. You're going to have to find, clothing because you need it for warmth. Food is not just about killing enemies for points, it's about killing them for food or materials to craft things. And it definitely lends itself to that different kind of feeling that you would get normally from an RPG or an abstracted title. And the other part of this also, of course, is the challenge. We have certainly seen a number of survival-based shows on TV these days, and there are those that are built more on, I'm not sure I would consider reality, more of a game show. Now, of course, counting something like Survivor, I'm thinking something like Naked and Afraid, or any of the number of Discovery-based shows there. And it's always about testing yourself, seeing how long you can last. And titles like Don't Starve, or actually any of these survival games, have those kinds of modes where it's less about a story or an objective and just saying, see how long you can last for. And these kinds of games, again, the map itself is procedurally based, but it comes with usually a fixed resource pool. So eventually you will run out of things to get. And it kind of, again, gives itself that high score arcade feel of, okay, I survived 50 days, can I survive 51 days next time? The other part what makes the survival genre very interesting is that the progression model is very pure. And what I mean by pure is that, again, it's very explicit in how you transition from beginning, middle, and end in terms of your character growth. Because everything is based on action and survival, it's very easy to see how you progress as you play. In other RPGs or other titles, your skills and your abilities usually remain the same or remain consistent across the play. Your badass sword goes from doing 50 points of damage to 100. And again, it's about that growing scale. With survival games, progression again becomes more about your tools and your options rather than just scaling. When you play a game like Don't Starve or Subnautica, you go from, again, having almost nothing at all to, growing your basic habitat, getting the bare essentials, and then it's about expanding out and seeing what you can do with these items and growing your tools. So you go from, barely surviving to having tools that let you, easily gather food or mine ore, and then that gets turned to armor, or gets turned to new equipment that lets you progress further. And again, it's about, again, that growing progression that, what am I going to do the next day that's going to be different from this one? And when this works, it provides a very effective progression model that keeps you playing because you're constantly growing. Now, with that said, there are a few major challenges behind the survival genre in terms of making one that hooks players. One of the bigger points of contention, especially for some survival games, is reaching a point of stabilization. And when we mean stabilization, we're talking about that point where your bare essentials are met. You no longer have to worry about, again, your basic needs: food, thirst, heat, cold, depending upon if we're in like a desert environment. This usually takes place in the early game when you've built your habitat or your first camping grounds or whatever. Some survival games put you into a situation where you're always dwindling. You're always needing those basic things. Something like We Happy Few or Don't Starve would be examples of this. The problem, though, is without that point of civilization, it makes it that much harder to grow and see that kind of progression that we just talked about. It instead becomes just a loop, in a sense, of, okay, I'm going to go a little bit further, but oh no, I need more food, so let me go back and hunt. But now I can't go back because I ran out of the basic elements, so I need to grind those, so I can create a few more of the advanced stuff, so I can then go back. And again, you're basically always taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, in a sense. And while these games can reach a point where you really start to move out ahead, again, you're always going to be dealing with the basic elements. Don't Starve would be a really big example of this. What they did is you have different tiers of crafting materials. So stuff like wood and grass and stone would be tier 1, and then you have like advanced forms like cut lumber, knotted grass, I forget a lot of the stuff, and so on. And the problem, though, is that you're always going to need the tier 1 goods. You're never going to reach a point where you can just easily get grass or easily get wood without having to go out and harvest it. Subnautica, as a counterpoint, made it very easy to stabilize. Once you have stuff like, you get this like magnetic sphere that attracts fish, thereby allows you to just quickly gather them. Fish can be processed into food or refined water. And again, once you get past like the first 30-40 minutes or so of play, you're not going to really worry about that. And instead, you're going to focus more on growth and seeing what's out there. And that's one of the other major points of the survival genre, is that you're going to start to look around and see, okay, I got my food, I got my place to sleep, now what can I do here? And this is where things like Minecraft become very popular, Because once you've built your little house, then it becomes, okay, let me, mine better ore. Let me build a massive castle or recreate the Death Star or anything from Lord of the Rings. And again, once you've gone past that survival element, it becomes more about this open sandbox. And to wrap up today's critical thought, I want to turn back to the AAA genre. We've been seeing this in games like Rise of the Tomb Raider, even something like Fallout 3 and 4, where you have the basic mode and then you have the quote-unquote survival mode, where now the game's going to track your health or your hunger and thirst, and you need to manage your resources more carefully, and it becomes a much more interesting way of playing these games. And again, it's not going to be for everybody. The survival genre can be some of a niche experience because, again, it is limited in terms of the procedural generation and, again, those resources. As I said a few minutes ago with stabilization, one of the issues of the survival genre is that for a lot of these games, once you've hit that point of stabilizing, there's not much more to do. Once you no longer need to worry about hunger, shelter, thirst, my mouth is completely drying out because I need to drink as well. Some of these games just don't have anything else to do. Many of them will then just say, okay, well, you've done that. Now, build other things that have nothing in relation to it. And that, again, takes us to this weird dividing line or boundary line between the survival genre. Some survival games will make progression into, again, keeping those needs met or making it easier, while others become more about playing with your toys in a sense. You don't have to worry about drinking water anymore. Now let's see if you can build a submersible vehicle or find an aquarium that you can put into your undersea habitat in Subnautica. And a game like Don't Starve, it again becomes about, okay, you've met your needs, now see if you can build something that's going to make it easier or give you more offense so you can fight better. And this is one of those more interesting points of the survival genre, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. What kind of survival games, for those of you who are fans, do you like? Do you like the ones that are about this constant, dwindling resources? You're always going to need to deal with food or thirst or survival, or do you like the ones that say, okay, that's the beginning, now do all of this stuff? And again, it's such a wide berth. I mean, I've played everything from The Long Dark to Slime Rancher, and those two games couldn't be further apart from each other. But again, for those of you watching, what do you make about the survival genre, and are there any other elements to it that you like that I didn't mention? Otherwise, we'll end things here. As always, thank you so much for watching and enjoying these videos. For you first-timers, be sure to like and subscribe. If you have a topic you would like to suggest for a critical thought, whether it be something original or expanding on a previous one, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And of course, be sure to vote for the 1000 Let's Play between a look at some of the games from Zachtronics, a play one of the Paradox games, or one of those grand RPGs like Skyrim or Fallout 3 and 4. Otherwise, I am Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com, where we examine the art and science of games. I apparently need to raise my thirst stat right now. I need to grab a drink. Be sure to check back daily for more great content here and on GameWisdom.com. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow. See you all then. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and of course share with your friends. It always helps out. For daily posts on all manner of game design and industry topics, check out game-wisdom.com. To support the site and everything that I do, be sure to check out the Patreon campaign. If we can hit goals, it will mean more content for everyone to enjoy, and I'll be able to support myself and my household. If you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at GWBycer for updates throughout the day and random thoughts from me. And lastly, you can find me on Twitch right over there at GWBycer for daily streams most nights around 10 Eastern. Thanks again for watching the video, and be sure to check out more great content coming to the Game Wisdom channel real soon.